And welcome into the Sporting News Studios, where we continue our look at the top teams in college basketball. Number 4 in the preseason, Kentucky. They lost a lot of talent, but they brought a lot of talent in. You know, there's this old phrase, they don't rebuild, they reload, and that's what I think of when I think about Kentucky.
Well, the thing about Kentucky is they reload with really big bullets.
We'll talk about some of those bullets, some of the young talent Coach Calipari's got there.
Well, it starts with Nerlens Noel, 6'10", 6'11", shot blocker, dominates the lane. Everybody wants to compare him to what they had last year with Anthony Davis. It's different. Davis was a much more versatile player, could play all over the floor. Noel owns the lane. He's not giving it to you. He's not giving you any piece of it. I watched him play in an AAU game against Tony Parker, now at UCLA, and his now teammate Alex Poitras held that team to 38 points. It was AAU. That doesn't happen in AAU.
Right.
38 points. He blocked 12 shots in the game. They kept taking it to him. He kept rejecting it. That's who he is. I compared him after seeing that game to Bill Russell. I think over time he could develop into that sort of level of defensive player.
That's a serious comparison there.
I think it's a much more apt defensive comparison than Davis.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed, I did have a chance to see him myself, and the thing I noticed, he just gets off the floor so quickly.
That's the thing. That's why the comparison to Russell.
You know, it's like a quick release for a quarterback. It's just amazing how quick he gets.
And if we want to take that down a couple of notches, how about Kenyon Martin? He was only National Player of the Year in 2000, but that's the kind of player that he can be. And he can be that as a freshman. Kenyon had to build into that as a senior. He can be that guy who just will not let you have a piece of the lane, and that is a great skill to have.
It certainly is. And you mentioned Poitras, he's his teammate. What does he bring to the table for Kentucky?
Alex brings them offense. He's an athlete. He can shoot the basketball from deep. Again, one of those guys that he can play either forward position. He could play as a small forward, which I think where they'll need him most, but he could also play at power forward if they developed into a team that needed to be a little bit quicker. So he offers a lot of versatility, and I think he has to be a big scorer for this team. If he's not, I don't see the way to greatness for them.
I got you. Now, one of the things Coach Calipari is known for, obviously, is recruiting this great talent, but we saw last year he's able to shape these guys into a team by the end of the year. So what's that process like for him, and how much potential do you see this team having?
Well, the process begins with convincing them to like each other, or maybe or recruiting guys who are going to fit together. That in any case, by the time they get on the floor, they have to like each other. If they don't like each other, it becomes a little bit problematic, or they don't like their role. And I think he needs to make them understand, look, buy into this role and you're going to get where you want to go. And that's one of the things he's done really well, and it becomes easier over time when he can take a guy like Darius Miller, who was a senior, the reigning SEC tournament MVP, and say, Darius, you'll be a better player and we'll be a better team if you come off the bench. And Darius becomes a second-round draft pick and a Kentucky legend. It all works out.
It did work out. Now, what are the biggest challenges for them? Obviously, making that young talent blend, but can you identify more specifically what that's all about as far as a challenge goes?
Well, I think the number one challenge for them is finding their offensive personality.
I see.
And that's something that John Calipari does really well. He's played a lot of different styles in just 3 years at Kentucky. He's basically, the second team he had, which wound up in the Final Four and nearly made the championship game, completely changed their offensive personality in midstream. He's willing to do that, and he's been able to do that. So who are they going to be on offense? Where is the ball going to go? What's the personnel going to be? I think they're going to start, the basic start is Ryan Harrow at point guard, Archie Goodwin at 2, then you've got Poitras at 3,
right.
And then Kyle Wilcher as the power forward, another one of those guys who can stretch the defense with his great shooting.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you have Noel. So that's where it starts. Well, that doesn't necessarily work. I mean, I'm not saying it won't. I think it will. But if it doesn't work, then where does Willie Cauley-Stein fit? Do you have to play Julius Mays? That's what they have to find out. And then how do they play those guys?
Right.
Whoever they wind up with. All those things, he's got more questions when he starts a season than any other coach in college basketball, but he's got a lot more answers to.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a lot of nice pieces, but he's still got to put that puzzle together.
Right.
Something tells me he'll be all right. All right, for Mike DeCourcy, I'm Tom Vandervoort. Thanks for watching.